Welcome to the new Chemist. We're glad you're listening. Feel free to download this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Here on the new Chemist, we discuss chemistry, which simply put is the science of change, as well as careers, community research, and COVID-19. We're happy you're tuning in. My guest today is Abhinaya Kumar. Thanks for joining me today. It is good to hear from you. Just briefly, I'll inform my audience about you. Abhinaya is a good colleague and previous mentor of mine from Georgia Tech. She currently works as a process development engineer at Abbott Heart Failure. She graduated with a bachelor's in biomedical engineering from Georgia Tech and is currently pursuing a master's in engineering management at Duke University. She was active on Georgia Tech's campus through numerous initiatives such as BME Health Reach, BME Learning Commons Leadership Team, the Pioneer, India Club at Georgia Tech, and the President's Council Governing Board. She is a dedicated engineer who is on a path to making a positive difference in the world. Please welcome Abhinaya. Hi, Abhi. It's good to have you here today. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. I love being here.
Yes. So let's get started. What has been some of the most beneficial advice you have received?
Oh, starting right off the bat, aren't we? Just before I started, I wanted to say thank you for thinking of me, David. I know we go a long back to the BME mentorship program, so it's really nice to be able to reconnect and just talk about our love for the sciences. It's really nice, and it's some of these moments, that just make you really happy and excited. So thank you.
Yes, no problem.
And to answer your question on the most useful or beneficial advice I've gotten, it's nothing in particular. I think a lot of the advice that I hear have been from my parents, like a long, long time ago, right? When we were in middle school or elementary school. And at that time, it's just, oh, whatever, they're just telling me something. I'll keep that in the mind. But it's not until I'm actually going through certain episodes, in my life that I'm like, oh, I remember. That's what my dad said 15 years ago, and it's coming into play now. So it's really cool how life kind of throws different challenges at you. But honestly, I think the biggest advice I've gotten is, and this is cliche, and I'm sure you've heard it, is there is no such thing as a work-life balance. Just do what you love for work, and other things will follow naturally. And that's something I've really taken into heart from the first day I started working. I wanted to make sure it's a job that I felt comfortable with, I felt challenged with, and that most importantly, that I'm passionate about. Every single morning when I wake up, I want to say, or most of the mornings, I guess every single is a little ambitious. Most of the days I want to wake up and say, I'm ready to go work today. I'm ready to go make that little difference that I want to. And I think that's been one of the most beneficial advices I've gotten, and not to really go for huge job titles or go for the job that pays the most. It's just been more intrinsically motivating for me to go into a job that I love. So I would say, if I were to sum up the many advices that I've gotten, that's one that I can just immediately think of right now.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, do what you love, because I've heard the expression, if you do what you love, then you'll enjoy it, and it wouldn't be as arduous or onerous or very difficult to do because you love it. So yeah, I completely agree with that. So
exactly, yep, and you'll be more willing to put in all your efforts into that job, right? It's not like you're wasting time, and whatever you're investing your time in, you want to make sure that it's worthwhile.
I agree. I completely agree. And I think that a part of that, and I think it's an ongoing debate. I think discovering what you're really interested in and your passions, that can change depending on your circumstances, or it can change depending on the stage of life that you're in. However, one of the things I realize is it requires a lot of self-awareness. You have to be aware of what you self-awareness, introspection, self-discovery, a lot of those things. So, considering it to be even more specific, to those wanting to pursue the field you are currently working in, what advice would you give to those people, like potential BME undergrads or engineering undergrads who want to work at Abbott or who want to work at some pharmaceutical or drug device, medical device manufacturing company? What advice would you give to them in the at the
Mhm.
beginning or middle of their careers, their undergraduate
Mhm.
careers?
Yeah, and of course. And I think I would most relate to the beginning of my career because I'm slowly gearing towards the mid-career, right? And
Mm-hmm.
something that I quickly learned my senior year, last semester, the second to last semester of Georgia Tech was you won't fully know what your full-time career is going to be.
Okay.
I know at Tech we were like, oh, I want to get into Medtronic. I want to go into a back then St. Jude Medical. But it was because we were all biomedical engineering students, right? So
Mm-hmm.
naturally, we were all so focused on medical devices. But little did I know at that time, medical devices is just such a vast field. There's so many cool roles within that, right? It's whether that's regulatory, that's manufacturing, that's R&D. And it's unfortunate, but the only thing that we used to think of, or I did in my group, was R&D.
Okay.
So I guess my advice is really try your best to seek out and learn about all the different functions of a medical device company if that's your long-term goal.
Okay.
And that could be in a corporate setting, a startup setting. And in a startup setting, it's even more critical that you understand that because you will be required to take on multiple functions at once. You're not going to have 10 employees under each function to really fully designate, the task under that particular division or function. And that's something I would really just advise folks to be a little bit more proactive in their undergraduate years,
Mm-hmm.
and reach out to when they're networking. And I know networking is such a key piece to college students, or it should be honestly to everyone, is reach out to people that are in these different functions. Not
Mm-hmm.
only just focus on the hardcore engineering, and I think that's where you're going to really learn about the industry overall, where the technologies lie, and what work needs to be done, whether that's short term, right, in the next 2-3 years, or long term, the next decade or two. So
Yeah.
I think that would be my biggest piece of advice.
That's good. That's very good. So I read your bio, and you also have done or you're doing studying engineering management at Duke. Why did you choose engineering management as a field to do your graduate studies in?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and good point. So I did start my master's in engineering management online. So I was part of
Okay.
the spring 2019 cohort. So
Okay.
I am looking to wrap that up in a few months, actually. So I'm very excited about it.
That's good.
And it's been such an amazing experience. And I'm not just saying it because, it's a podcast or anything. It's just a genuine conversation between two friends here.
Yes.
And one of the decisions I had was, or actually I was at three options that I kind of had. One was to do a master's right off the bat after my undergrad. So, whether that's strictly BME is kind of what I was looking at that point. Option two was wait a few more years and get an MBA. And
Okay.
option three was why not pursue an online program? And the
Yeah.
reason I didn't want to go and stop my work and just go to the MBA was I was really enjoying my job. I was
Okay.
really liking it. And I didn't find a reason to really stop what I was doing because we were actually in the middle of launching a product. And I really wanted to stay on for a few more years to kind of put that through, to see that through. So naturally, the best option was an online program.
Okay.
And then the question came to, do I want to do something very technical focused or do I want to do a little bit more management focused? And when I came across just engineering management in general, I realized that it's the perfect combination between technical and management and all of that I was looking at with the technologies.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the technical ones, to be honest with you, and this is my personal opinion, of course, is a lot of the courses were repeating from my undergrad years. And I had
Okay.
just taken that in 2016 and 2017 from phenomenal professors already. And I just wanted something new. I wanted courses that tie in all the concepts. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
courses that I'm really able to directly apply to honestly any position I'm in within the medical devices industry. And it just so happened that the courses that were offered with Duke University specifically really just aligned with my long-term goals as well. So some of the examples of courses are, of course, commercializing technology innovations. And I think that's key, right, for a engineer to keep in mind, because long-term, these products are going to our end users and patients. So you want to start thinking about that 5 years behind regulatory submissions, marketing, all of that. So certain aspects, I think, just really align, again, going back to that word, with my full-time career. So yeah, no, it was just the best offer, best option I had, and I don't regret it at all. It's just been amazing to really collaborate with the cohort as well. They're all from diverse backgrounds, and that's, I think, the key for any MBA or any MEM degree that you're getting.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's very good. So, in your field and in your work, how have you maintained vision and teamwork in your environment?
I think it's natural, right? It has to happen.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's something, and think about it, ever since kindergarten or even preschool, right? Teamwork is key. Sharing is caring is what they used to tell us in preschool, right? So
Yeah.
I think our vision, and I'm combining vision and teamwork here, started very early on. And it's up to us on how we want to collaborate effectively, how we're going to transparently communicate with one another. And all of these aspects, I think, were definitely bolstered in our undergrad years, right? Our BME program was perfect for that. I think they did an excellent job of throwing in classes in the mix that force you to work in groups, right? You aren't going to agree with your team members all the time, but if you're going to have weekly deliverables, you have to. You have to come to a consensus. You have to find a meeting time that works for you, despite, Greek activity or whatever extracurriculars you have going on. So I think Georgia Tech did a good job of setting that foundation for me, and they weren't kidding. It's all about teamwork in full-time career, at least at Abbott where I work, and it's fun. I don't know if it's my personality or what, but it fuels me. I love working in teams. I love being able to listen to others and hear their thoughts about the same problem that we're having, and driving down to a root cause of whatever issue that we're facing, whether that's on the manufacturing line or whether that's us developing a new product and we foresee an issue that's coming. So it really fuels me, and I love it. And of course there are challenges with it, but I think we grow with that, and we become a better version of ourselves. And that is the vision, if I want to tie in that other word you threw out, that I have for teamwork in general as well.
Okay. To serve as a catalyst for development, personal development, and team development, and character development. Yeah, I agree with that completely. Challenges can serve as catalysts. I think by many standards, people can say you've been successful as a student in the field. So how would you attribute your success thus far?
I'm laughing. Yeah, no, it's a great question. I'm laughing because success is such a subjective word.
Yes.
And if you had asked me this question, I kid you not, David, 5 years ago, assuming I was, that version of success, it would have been what? Aiming to get all A's to maintain that 4.0 GPA. It's like that perfect student. It's me being able to show off to the world and more to myself as well at that point that, hey, I'm amazing and I'm successful, right? And that honestly was my mentality. And that kind of was because senior year in high school, I had everything going for me, right? Everything was perfect and everything was exactly what I wanted it to be able to land into an institution like Georgia Tech. But once we got there, right, it was challenging. And I think my perspective on success really just changed then, whether that was through our peers that we met, or I want to really just give a shout out to Paul Fincannon here. I think he doesn't know this, and I'm eternally thankful for him. He changed my definition of success. And it eventually started leaning towards focus more on learning, understanding, being open to trying new things, taking a risk. Because if you don't do that in college, when are you going to do it, right? That's your stepping stone into the real world. And that was as opposed to, me studying all the time. And naturally, in her BME department, I don't know if you're able to relate to this, was competing with your peers to beat that competitive curve, right? And our institution is well known for that. Or maybe that was just me, but I really felt that pressure when I started there. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but for me, it really just did not work. So to answer your question, what I consider successful and what I discovered as real success was just pure mental happiness. And in college, it was also the desire to really participate in those extracurriculars that helps me apply the learnings from my courses and, of course, life in general, because it's your first time being independent. You're making awesome friends, and maybe they're not so awesome. You have lessons learned from that as well. Whatever it is, I think that, to me, kind of is that bundle of success. And I guess, just a quick example would be the BME Learning Commons. And I mean, that's how we met, right? Where I effectively managed and launched a mentorship program in my sophomore year. And I think about it now and I'm like, that's such a huge responsibility to put on a 19-year-old girl. But things like that, I think that when I look back, I'm like, that defines my success, because I learned so much from it, not necessarily getting that A in that one class. It's the lessons that you take now and how you're able to apply it now. So I don't know if I answered your question there, but I think that's how I would define my success.
That's good. I completely agree with that, because I've heard the quote, success is measured not merely by the harvest that you reap, but also by the seed that you plant. So that the relationships that come about from your actions and choices that you make. And success can also be defined as doing the best you can at the stage of life that you're in, progressing from one stage and moving forward. Because I agree, success is relative to certain. There are some absolute standards in certain situations with specific people. However, generally you can't make a blanket statement on whether someone is successful or not, because we're all at different stages of life. One, we're all going through different circumstances. Two, we all have different upbringings and backgrounds. Three, some of us are not as privileged as others. So it's a variation. And I think one of the ways we can approach that conversation is just being understanding of where people are and where they are, and giving them credit for what they have achieved and what they're trying to achieve. So I think So
exactly, and I think there needs to be a lot more of that. I know it's gotten better, but I sincerely believe that we shouldn't hold someone to that same standard. And exactly what you said, different upbringings, different opportunities given to us, right? It's not all equal here. We're not in an equal society, unfortunately. We want to get there equity-wise, right? Not equality-wise. But I hope to get there. But right now, in this important phase, especially in the states where I am, it's absolutely critical that we're there for each other and we share information and we support each other as much as we can.
I agree. So, given all your responsibilities and accomplishments, how do you maintain, or how do you strive to maintain some semblance of balance? How are you maintaining that?
Yeah, of course. I love what I do, David, and I know we've been talking about my job quite a bit here, and whether that's my full-time career or that online master's program, whatever it is, right? Or if it's the street photography that I'm interested in, whatever I invest my time in, I just really genuinely put my entire heart in. Are some of the days just focused on work, and the lack of, the so-called balance? Absolutely. But some days are just naturally like that, and I'm okay with that. But in the larger scheme of things, again, whatever I invest my time and energy in, I want to go full-heartedly in it, I want to go for it. But something, though, that I do never slack off on, and I think you'd be able to relate to, is spending time with my family. And even if
Yeah.
that means flying across the country every other month, right? Or every month even. And they help me find that stability or that balance in life. And for that, no doubt, I'll be forever blessed and grateful. And that's the lesson that I want to pass on, you know, eventually to my kids and kids' kids and all of that. And it's fun, right? We get to eat meals together, watch TV, discuss about our highs and lows, and just, of course, mom's food. Nothing can beat that. So it's
I agree.
something that, and something that we've been exploring more as a family in recent times has been meditation as well. So this last, you know, few months that I was there in Georgia, it's no matter how busy our days have been working from home and all of that, we just make sure we fit in family mindfulness sessions. And it's just been amazing. It's helped us so much mentally. And I think activities like that and being able to share my stories with my personal family, you know, of course I have my work family as well, just really helps me maintain a balanced and happy life. I want to add the word happy in there because that's something that I'm really striving for, being happy at present and not necessarily saying, if I get that, I'll be happy. No, I'm happy right now and I want to be happy right now. So I think that's what I'm kind of going for.
No, that is true. That you hit on a powerful point because, you know, several things I could say on that. One, happiness many times is a decision that you have to make. And you have to choose to be happy in spite or despite or even in the circumstances. You have to choose to be happy, and yeah, I agree with that. And also, yes, family does help to keep you balanced and keep you centered. And even for me, based on my background, you know, reflection and meditation plays a big role in keeping you mentally healthy and emotionally healthy. So we discussed your role in the mentorship program. Would you say that was one of your most impactful and effective ideas to date?
So I can't take the credit for that. I do want to definitely thank Dr. Ledoux for believing in a group of students, right? I at that point, yes, David, it was one of those crazy ideas that Professor Ledoux had, and it was so nice to just be able to connect students, right? Undergrads to grads, and we called it a vertical mentorship program. And I still remember my pitch to this date. I remember us calling it a vertical mentorship with undergrads being connected to, freshmen and sophomores being connected to the juniors and seniors, who are then connected to graduate students, who are then connected to alumni or professors. It's just so great to see how much we were able to kind of bring a close-knit family to the biomedical engineering department. But I think generally speaking, in a larger scheme of things, the biggest personal impactful decision I made was switch to manufacturing engineering from the rotational program that was focused more on regulatory. And being an engineer, David, with regulatory knowledge is immensely powerful. Like it's allowed me to provide so much insight into our next gen design transfer, process development, you know, and going through that process. And again, working through and closely with so many functions really allows you to collaboratively brainstorm cost saving or lean manufacturing ideas, but that still produce high quality and long-term affordable medical devices around the world. And that aligns perfectly, you know, at that point, in this point, with my long-term goal. I really want to be able to provide affordable medical devices globally. So it's hard to say how impactful it is, right? But to me, the journey I'm taking has been so rewarding and very effective. And solutions and, you know, situations and discussions like this, they get me inspired to continue to look for these solutions and see how I can be even more impactful to, first, directly the community surrounding me, right? The people that are around me. And then secondly, globally, because eventually it's such a small world that I don't want to just stop after the first step. I want to make sure I, you know, take it to the next level and make sure, you know, folks in India, and I'm saying India because I'm Indian, get the same access to those medical devices that I have access to here in the States.
Yes, that's true. That's very true. So, how have you sought or found the right environment for you to thrive scientifically and intellectually? How did you find the right environment for you to do that?
Right, and that's actually a really perfect segue into what we discussed. And
Yes.
quite honestly, for me, I got lucky, David. And I know I keep on going back to my career, but that has been what I've been really focusing on the last 3 years, ever since I graduated from Georgia Tech, right? And a huge piece to finding that right environment is your direct manager, is your boss. Because of that flexibility from that rotational program that I was in, I actually had opportunities to work with all sorts of managers, right? We had rotational managers, we had program directors, and I would report into 2 people at once. And that, I think, really helped me understand the right environment that I thrive in intellectually. Each of us performs optimally through the right leadership. And I support the theory of situational leadership. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. And I've seen it through my different experiences, right? But it's also okay if you can't find alignment with the manager. You make it work and try your best to create that right environment. And if it just doesn't work out, it really is what it is, right? And thankfully for me, that tough situation that I had was for a short period, but it taught me so many lessons that I will take forward when I myself am a manager, with employees reporting to me or whatever that situation is, right? Mentees even. It doesn't have to be a direct organizational structure. And in my short full-time career span, I feel content with where I am with my current workplace. It was a lot of open dialogue and really establishing my work ethic and reputation. And that just simply, and I'm saying simply, but it's just showing them that you can do a good job. It's maintaining and establishing that, again, that work ethic. And once I built that trust with my peers, my managers, and all those around me, they began trusting others, and work just became a lot more fun. So I was given more flexibility in how I get the deliverables done and mix that with, the med device development. And honestly, that is all I need to be happy, to be challenged, and thrive. And I hope I answered that question, but that's generally my personal experience in the last 3 years.
That's good. That's good. So, how, given all of your responsibilities, and I'm sure you've encountered challenges, how do you maintain view of the bigger picture in your career and in your life in general? How are you maintaining view of the bigger picture? How do you stay optimistic? Given the pandemic, given all of these things transpiring, how do you stay optimistic?
How do I stay optimistic? It's hard. It's very hard. This year, without a doubt, has been hard. And I'm grateful for, still having my job, for still having a healthy family and friends. But one thing, this COVID-19 situation has taught me is, going back to the earlier point, is to really just live in the present and enjoy every moment of it. And I think that naturally fuels my optimism. But I am someone in the back of my mind that knows generally what I want to do with my life. I don't want to split, again, my career and life into 2 buckets. And of course, I cherish the memories with my friends and family, but I also just want a career that I genuinely enjoy and don't look at it as just mere work or income. And I think that passion, David, helps maintain that bigger picture. But long story short, bigger picture, again, I'll be my own definition of successful, and that's evolving, right? Whatever it is today may not be the same 10 years down the road, but right now, it's being happy and bettering life for those around me. And I think that openness reduces any anxiety that I used to have when I was just constantly pushing myself to think about my next step. So I think that, to recap the question and my response to it, is what fuels my optimism and keeps me going.
Okay, wow, that's very good. Yeah, I completely agree. So, Abhinaya, it was good to have you on. Thanks for joining me today. I'm wishing you all the best in your career and in your next step forward.
Thank you, David. And it's a
Thanks for listening. We're glad you were able to tune into this podcast. Once again, this is the New Chemist, where we discuss chemistry, which simply put is the science of change, as well as the other sciences, careers, community, research, and COVID 19. Thanks again for listening. Note: the views on this podcast represent those of my guests and I.